I'm going to start out with kind of a high-level overview of grants, both district grants and global grants, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the meat of grants qualification and navigating the grants process. I sent out yesterday or the day before an email with several attachments to it. All grants related documents, the instructions for district grants, the policies and procedures that we have in place here in our district for grants, the memorandum of understanding, which you received at PETS as well, and then a kind of a quick document on how to get your club qualified. So I hope everybody's had a chance to look over those, and if not, please do so at your convenience, and all of that information will be necessary to get through the grants process should you decide to participate in a district or global grant this year or anytime in the future. So, why is my PowerPoint not responding?
Hit the buttons down at the bottom on the left.
I'm hitting my arrow button. Worked when we were practicing, Rosie. What happened?
Oh, hey, Brad. So on your screen, down at the bottom on your PowerPoint, there should be a little arrow down the left when you highlight over where you have Rotary.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you. So you heard a lot about this at PETS. If you took certainly the foundation course, which I know you all did, or many of the other courses, start with why. And the why of doing anything is very important, because if we can identify why we do things, then the what has a greater impact on what we're doing. So why do we want to participate in grants? Well, obviously, our function as Rotarians and Rotary clubs is to do good in the world. That's our purpose. And why we want to do that may vary with individuals or club philosophies, but understanding the why we want to do this makes the what, in this case, securing Rotary Foundation funds to help our projects move along. It gives it a little bit more impact and meaning in our communities. So there are several steps in qualifying or being eligible to participate in Rotary Foundation grants programs, grants included. And these qualifications need to be done annually by the clubs, and need to be done whether you're doing a district grant or a global grant. And we'll talk more about the differences here in a minute. But the qualifications: attend a grants management seminar, and RI's policy and our District 5010's policy as well is that one member in a club must participate in a grants management seminar. Now, like I said, we've done the grants management seminars in the past at PETS because it's the one time we can get kind of count on one person from all the clubs being in the same room to where we can get this information out. Whether or not the presidents-elect are absolutely the right person or the only person that should attend a grants management seminar, it's questionable, because oftentimes the club president is not the one directly involved with the project itself, but certainly needs to be aware of what is going on with those grants and the programs within their club. So we've always done the PEs. It doesn't have to be a PE. It can be a club foundation chair or anybody else participating in this grants management seminar. Now, we've always hoped, and it's finally come to pass, that RI would put a good grants management seminar on their website, and they have. And so a full-blown grants management seminar is available in the Learning Center on the RI website in the My Rotary section. So if you don't have a My Rotary account, which you should have, please set one up. And then I urge you to take the opportunity to get into the Learning Center and look at that. The total time to do the complete grants management seminar is about 2.5 hours. You can do it at your own pace as you complete different modules of it, and they're usually 15-minute modules. And then there's a little test your skills kind of thing, test your knowledge. But the important one at the end is a club qualification one, and that's where you actually get into the memorandum of understanding, and you can sign it, and you'll get a certificate saying that you've signed it, and that's proof that you've actually qualified your club. So that's there, and I would urge all club PEs or somebody in the club to do that online grants management seminar. For our purposes now, since we're transitioning, we will count this as long as you do sign and the MOU, you and your successor or another representative from the club do that step and have participated in this, and we'll count that as a grants management, because I think we're going to cover the material that you need to get through at least district grants, and global grants are a whole another animal to where you want to look at that separately anyway. But much of the memorandum of understanding applies really more to global grants than it does to district grants as far as that goes. So grants management seminar is the first step, and then sign and adhere to the club memorandum of understanding that I just talked about. And I think you were given MOUs to sign at PETS, and that's certainly one way to do it. There's a better, easier way, less labor-intensive way to do it within the matchinggrants.org website that I'll show you soon, that you can do it and get you and your president-elect or whomever get an online acknowledgement of the MOU. And then the third qualification is be current in reporting on all of your existing district and global grants. So there's no outstanding grants that need to be finished within the time frame that you're looking now for district grants, and that's going to concern most of us. And I'll get into this later. The grant that you had in the previous year needs to be finished or well on its way before, no, it needs to be finished before we will disperse funds for the grants that you may request for this upcoming Rotary year. Global grants are again, a different animal, and they have separate reporting requirements throughout the grant stage there. So a district grant.
Real quick question.
Yes, George.
On those 3 items, is that a club requirement or an individual requirement? Does one person have to attend the seminar, sign in and hear the memorandum, and do the reporting on the global grants, or is that a club group sort of?
The club has to be qualified because it's really the club participating in the grant.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, good question though. Okay, so there's differences, of course, between district grants and global grants. And when we talk district grants, you know, and talk about clubs getting a district grant, that's really not accurate 100%. What happens with the district grant, and again, you were indoctrinated on this at PETS during your foundation course. You understand how the buckets work, and the return on our annual fund contribution comes back to us in the form of district designated funds after 3 years. Well, of those district designated funds that we get allocated to us, up to half of that can be used for our district grants. So we put out the request for grant proposals from the clubs. If you have a small smaller, quickly enactable project ready to go that needs some funding, you put your request in, and that's the April 20th deadline that we talked about. But you put your request in for those, and then based on the number of grant requests that we get into the grants committee, we then build a block grant request to the Rotary Foundation, and then that amount is what we are awarded from the foundation. This year we will have in the area of, or for next year, we'll have in the area of $90,000 available to us to put to use towards the district grants. So it's really the district that is applying for the district grants, and then we allocate out to the clubs based on their requests for projects. A club can have up to 3 district grants in any Rotary year. And they must, when you request funds from the district grant pot of money, anything you request has to be matched 1-to-1 by your club. So if you've got a $5,000 project that you want to do, count on you having to put in $2,500 from your club, and the district will match the $2,500. Now, in some cases, if we have, which we often do, have more requests than we do funds to allocate, we may have to come back to you, to the club, and say, well, we can't give you everything that you've asked. Here's what we can give you. Can you still make this project work based on that? Can you raise the difference? And if yes, great. If not, then we start figuring out another project or looking for partners from other clubs to come in and join you on it. We start getting creative and looking to make sure that your projects can happen and that your funding can be secured. So district grants can be local or international activities. We tend to like to see local projects because this is small amounts of money that can get to work quickly in our communities and generally be done in a short period of time. And we ask that we're looking for some recognition for Rotary and certainly your clubs in your areas as you do these projects. So that's kind of our preference when asking for.
Interesting.
Whoever's not muted, could you mute yourself? Thank you. So I lost my train of thought. But that's where we prefer to see our activities, and we ask that there be some Rotary recognition along with your project. Now, certainly, international projects are welcome and encouraged as well. Just be certain that it's a project that you have some control over. That you're not just kind of giving a check to an organization internationally and then have no involvement with the project after that. That's happened in the past. It's a little sticky, and once you lose control of the project, you really not. It's hard to report out a project when you don't know if and where and how the money's been spent. So that gets into the stewardship that we'll talk about. You need to be aware of the funds that you have given and be able to account for them at the end of the project. Nice thing about district grants along those same lines is, all the decision making is local, and our guidelines are pretty broad with what you can do with district grants. Now, having said that, local decision making and broad guidelines, it's if you've got a project that might involve some permitting or kind of a construction thing that may or may not be able to happen given our short construction season, give that some serious thought about before submitting that projects is we do require that these projects be completed within the Rotary year that the grants have been funded. So if you submit a project in April of this year and it gets approved and we issue the money after July 1st to you, then that project needs to be completed before the end of the 2021 Rotary year. And you cannot start a project, start spending money before your project is approved and our district block grant is approved. That's kind of a no-no. So don't get a jump on the project and then look to be reimbursed. It's best not to start your project until you know that you've got that funding secured. And like I said, these are intended to be smaller in scope. Needs to include Rotarian participation actively. We don't want to just be writing check organizations and let them do the work and get all the glory. It's you know, one of the nice things about district grants and being able to and that's what we're all about is you know, putting our hands to work and doing good in our communities. So we want active Rotarian participation. Stewardship guidelines, the reporting out of the projects, and we'll get to that too when we get into the instruction guides for district grants. Just kind of demonstrate cultural sensitivity, make sure that the project fits the community that we're working in. And that's really enough said on that. And make sure that the project is something that the community really wants and needs.
Brad?
Yes. Yes.
Dan Phillips just gave me a note. He says, now he's talking about our grant. Remember that there could be multiple milestones for a larger multi-year project.
And I'll talk to that too, but I'll talk to it right now that you brought it up. So sure,
Right.
you know, we say that we want the projects to be completed within the year. If it's a bigger project and you're going to be actively involved for multiple years, break that up into chunks that you can complete and account for in that Rotary year. And I know the project that Dan's talking about. It's a kind of a Susitna River side river landing project that there's several components to it, and they're going to do a piece of it this year, and that's great. They'll be able to close out this part of it. They'll apply for further funding for the next phase of it, and that's perfectly fine. We just don't want monies not being spent and accounted for within that Rotary year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Projects need to align with our foundation's mission, which is, you know, doing good in the world. Well, I hesitate to think of any project that, you know, that we do that doesn't do good in the world. If it doesn't, it's probably not the right project for us. We want them to, just like global grants, we'll get into that now. All of our work should align with an area of focus within the Rotary Foundation. And it's hard for me to think of any project that we do anywhere that doesn't fit into one of those 6 areas of focus. So our global grants, I'm waiting for somebody to ask to name those 6 areas of focus.
Well, Brad,
Global grants, what?
they're listed when they sign up and do the description of their grant. They have to pick which ones they are. Maybe they're in 2 areas.
I know, that's right, but you're really, you know, it's one. A park playground, for example, can certainly be a community and economic development project. It can be a health project. In fact, our Eagle River Club did a playground a few years ago, and we were awarded a Heroes of Healthcare Award from Hospice of Anchorage for that project. So yeah, it's hard to come up with a project that does not fit somewhere within the 6 areas of focus. We'll touch a little bit on global grants. Global grants are the bigger projects. They have to be international in nature. They have to align within an area of focus. And like Rosie said, that particular application does call for the area of focus that project will fit in. Again, they have to be international in nature. There has to be an international host or international club and a partner host club. Say you're doing a project in Cameroon. Well, the international partner there is, the host partner is the Cameroon Rotary Club and District, and then the host partner would be the one from Anchorage, say. So, and it's the international clubs that really drive that project. It's their needs that we're helping satisfy, so they kind of drive the project. Global grant has to have measurable results, respond to a community need. There does need to be a needs assessment done with a global grant, and it's generally spearheaded by the international or by the host club, you know, on the ground in the area in which the project is happening. We're looking for active Rotarian participation and community participation. We want these projects to be sustainable. And so if you have good active community participation in projects, that helps that sustainability within with those projects. They need to have long-term sustainable benefits, and we need to be able to show what those are. The bigger projects in nature, they have to have a budget of at least $30,000. And those areas of focus, you know, education and literacy, clean water and sanitation, maternal and child health, disease prevention and treatment, and you can read the rest. You saw at PETS again how the funding works for a global grant, where club funds are matched with Rotary Foundation, with district designated funds, which are matched with World Fund, Rotary Foundation funds, both at the district level and then at the club cash funds as well. So, for example, a club wants to put $10,000 toward a project, they can get up to $10,000 matching district designated fund. And then the World Fund will match everything that the district puts in, and 50% of what the club contributions are. So a $10,000 club outlay could result in a $35,000 project funding. Again, sustainable projects include community participation. Buy your materials and technology locally as much as you can. The host club on the ground in the area where the work is being done will be the one procuring materials and technology and actually spending the money. The funding, you know, we just talked about the Rotary funding, and then, you know, we try to get partner organizations involved as well in those communities if it fits. We rely on local knowledge of the needs in an area. We also have within our Rotary Foundation what we call a cadre of technical advisors and Rotarians who have been selected, who have a broad knowledge of how the grants program works and how funding should work, and then even more specific area of focus knowledge as well, so that they can really help put together a good, effective global grant project. And then, of course, the project needs to be evaluated and make sure it meets the needs and has accomplished what the project's intended to accomplish. Stewardship, I keep talking about stewardship. It's the responsible management and oversight of our grant funds These are Rotary Foundation funds. Our Rotary Foundation has the excellent Charity Navigator rating that it does because of the stewardship that we provide both at the club level all the way up to the within the foundation and the trustees, and how everything is done voluntarily, but done very responsibly. Stop me if you have any questions. Scholarships can be funded both by global grants or district grants. So if your club has a scholarship program, for example, that you award scholarships, if you want to use some district grant funding to add a scholarship or enhance your existing scholarship program, you can certainly do that. Or we can, you can come up with just a scholar if there's a student in your area that you would like to provide a scholarship for some amount. That's certainly doable. Global grant scholars are different. Those are always graduate level scholarships, masters or above. They're international. They are longer term, periods of 1 up to 4 years. They do align with an area of focus, and the scholarship recipient needs to have some history, educational work, volunteer experience within that area of focus, and then demonstrate that they are going to bring that further education back to their career and their community, and put those career plans to work. It's an application or academic program that we help fund, and it funds almost everything that a student needs. We have one global grant scholar out of our Whitehorse clubs who is just completing her scholarship this year. In fact, I think she's done and in the process of doing her final report. But that's been a 3-year program. It was up about $90,000 that we awarded her in scholarship, global grant scholarship money for, and she's done an excellent job. Allison Furness, she's presented at district conference if you haven't heard her, and we hope to have her back and talk about the end point of her journey through her scholarship opportunity. Just like global grants, a global scholarship has to have a host and an international sponsor. And like a global grant, there's a $30,000 minimum budget for that program as well. And I mentioned district grant scholarships, a lot of flexibility in there. And I used, many of our clubs have scholarship programs where they fund high school seniors for some period of time to a vocational or a university. And you can use a district grant to enhance that program, or like I say, come up with another type of scholarship within your club. Again, short term though, they need to be just like any other district grant that you have done. It's a kind of a 1-year deal, so you're not going to fund a 4-year scholarship with a 1-year grant.
Hey, Brad, back on the 30,000 bucks.
Yes.
Can that be collective amongst a bunch of clubs?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, that's usually there's very few grant scholars, global grant grants that involve just one club. It's a collaboration of clubs, and that's an excellent way to do it. Gets clubs involved internationally without a huge cash outlay. And if you're not the host club, if you sign on as an international partner, especially signing on to somebody else's grant project, then it's really, other than providing funding and possibly having the opportunity to visit a grant site and help, actually hands-on, there's not a lot of the administration of a grant that the clubs have to do. Now, if you take on an international partner role, say, and you partner with a host club, a little bit more responsibility, but generally the reporting requirements and handling the money and everything is done at the host club level, host club or district level. So they're on the hook for the accountability, although the international partners, if they have signed on, take on some of that responsibility as well to make sure that it happens.
So I have another question out here. People are
Yes.
sending questions. So where do people find out who has either global or district grants that they want to tack on to?
That's a very good question and not a real easy one to answer. You know, district grants, the smaller grants, you know, just you look around your community and you know, just kind of see what the needs in your community are, or if it's an international deal, it's usually, those are usually handled because of relationships that we build with other Rotarians, for example, or other organizations that we may be involved with. There's no one repository of grant ideas. So when we've had pretty good luck district grant wise with our clubs just coming up with their own grant ideas. That's been pretty successful. Global grants are a tougher nut. Without a contact or a relationship with somebody internationally, it's hard to partner with a club just out of the blue. Now, you know, district governors elects, when they go to international assembly, say they meet every other district governor elect in the Rotary world. And there's a lot of exchanging of ideas, and many times our governors-elect will come back with global grant ideas through contacts that they've made. There are project fairs in different areas of the world that are publicized sometimes. It's not, you know, here's where you go to find a project kind of thing, but things to be looking out for as you're looking for. You kind of search Google project fair in, you know, Ecuador, for example, and you might come up with some information and get some project ideas there. And then, you know, you want to contact whatever club is looking to put this project together and see what role your club can and will play in this project. They may be looking for an international partner club or district. Great, if you want to take on that responsibility, excellent, and it gets you into that realm of global grants. And once you do that, you feel pretty comfortable at it. There's nothing magic about any of these grant programs. They do take a little bit of work and follow up, so you don't just start it and then forget that it's going on.
So Chuck Foster says matchinggrants.org. And I do know that like Mary Kowalczyk, she gets a lot of great ideas. Like if you go to the Rotary International Conference, you'll run into people that want to have these sorts of things. And maybe a district governor has a passion for one and might have one in his pocket right now. Maybe
Right, and that's absolutely right. And I'll talk about matchinggrants.org here in a minute. I was gonna touch on that.
All right, thanks.
But yeah, the like I said, the district governors elect often come back with ideas for a global grant, and then, you know, find one. Andre, you know, came back last year after International Assembly and had a great project idea with a Nigerian club and district for school desks, if you remember, and he really was excited about this grant opportunity. Well, the whole thing fell through. I think the district or club involved or something was not qualified to participate. Something fell through, but that's an example of how that part works. Diane Fegis, when she was in the International Assembly, she came back with a global grant partnership opportunity with an Australian district that we actually put into work. So we've got a global grant in partners with an Australian district on a fetal alcohol syndrome project that's being done right now in Australia, and it's going to be reversed to where a sister project will be done on this end with the same players, only this time we will be the host district, and the work will be done here in rural Alaska. So that's, you know, one of the great benefits of global grants is building those relationships. And we tend to forget that you know, we're international too, you know. And so when we look at global grant opportunities, we always think of well, you know, we have to do some work in another country, but other countries are looking for international or global grant opportunities as well. So they need to be doing projects in other countries, and we're certainly a possibility for that. And now that Whitehorse is in a separate district, we can partner with what were our Whitehorse clubs in global grant opportunities as well. So those are some opportunities there. Now, matching grants. There is, and we'll look at matching grants. We use the matchinggrants.org website to manage our district grants, but there is a global grant component to that too. And you can look at that and see a whole host of global grant ideas or projects that are in some form of implementation, whether or not it's just an idea looking for funding or whatnot. There's a cautionary note there, though, is that matchinggrants.org in general has nothing to do with Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. It is a website that was set up to help manage grants, both district grants and global grants. We adopted matchinggrants.org for our district grant program because when the new grants model was started in 2013, we had to come up with a way for document retention, mainly. Part of the grants program requires us to maintain documents for 5 years, and we didn't want to saddle each club with coming up with a document management system, and Club Runner wasn't really equipped to do that function for us. So a Rotarian in California got together this matchinggrants.org website, and it works well. And we're going to be getting into that a lot more. But that works well for district grants, and it does what we want it to do as far as storing our documents, keeping records. There's also a global grant component that's meant to do the same thing, but it does not start a global grant project as far as getting any kind of funding from the Rotary Foundation. That's just a place where you'll see a global grant project idea listed on there. You might click on there and they can be looking for funding. You can actually sign yourself up as a club to partner onto that grant and even commit district designated funds. But all of that means nothing because it's invisible to both our grants committee and the Rotary Foundation until what's on the matchinggrants.org site is transformed into a Rotary International Global Grant Project application. And so you got to be careful about that. And anytime you're looking to do a global grant or wanting to sign on to a global grant, please, please, please let the grants committee know before you commit to anything. Because we need to make sure that we understand what the funding requests are from clubs for district designated funds to make sure that we have the funds available and that the project's actually, you know, going to happen. We don't want to tie up any funds that never get spent, which has happened in the past. We have a global grant application in the works right now that wasn't done through matching grants, but it was done similarly, where the club, got on the Global Grants website, started the application process. None of us on the grants committee knew it was even happening until all of a sudden I got an email from the Rotary Foundation saying that this project is awaiting authorization for the release of district designated funds for it. And so the missing piece was they did not come to the grants committee to give us a heads up and let us know that this was in the pike and it's something that they wanted to be pursuing. And looking at the application, there's a lot of questions that we need to go back and go over with the club and look at the project and its funding just all over again. So it's always best to let the grants committee know if you're going to pursue a global grant, what you're planning on doing and how much you may be needing in district designated funds. Okay, vocational training teams, they can be funded by a district grant. So if you are wanting to put together a vocational training team, say you are getting involved with a global grant and a vocational training team is needed or wanted, district grant money can help fund that. It can also be built into the global grant application. And in case you're not familiar, vocational training team, it replaced our GSE teams, our group study exchange teams a few years ago with the new grants program, where vocational training teams are a specific team of professionals within a certain field or area of focus that go to look at a project and help put together a global grant project or exchange ideas with like professions in another part of the world with the intent of building a stronger global grant project. So we want to take action. How does our Rotary Foundation, how do we get our district designated funds? It's through our contributions to the Rotary Foundation, specifically the annual funds share program. So it's the money that we generously contribute to the Rotary Foundation annual share program that gives us these funds back to enable us to do our district grants and global grants. There are different ways to keep abreast of the grants world. Much of Rotary, as you probably know by now, is self-education. There's no shortage of resources and information available to us as Rotarians to go and learn as much as we want to, or as little as we want to, about Rotary and our programs. If you go into your profile on My Rotary, you can subscribe to different newsletters and informational things, group discussions, whatnot. There's all kinds of ways to go about it. And then, Rotary.org, just remember that, use it. And like I said earlier, if you've not set up a My Rotary account as incoming club presidents, you certainly need to, or you will not be getting communications from RI that you will need to know, and you won't have access to the reports that you'll want to be able to see within the website as well. So sign into My Rotary, get that set up, and go to that learning center. Like I said, look at that grants management seminar piece. It's a good, concise program. You can do it at your own pace. You can save it. You can print records to show that you've completed certain areas of it. And that's just one of many topics that you'll be able to get education on. And we need to urge our training team as well to be using this learning center, because they've just made it so much better over the last couple of years. Remember, we have paid staff at Rotary who we pay through our Rotary dues to develop these programs for us. It's a shame if we don't use them. So that's my high level piece. I'm going to switch documents now and start talking about what the qualification process is for your club and get into a little bit in the manual. I'm just trusting that all the PEs did get the documents that I sent to you, but everything that I sent the other day is available on the district website, rotarydistrict5010.org. In the wrong one.
Hey, Brad, while you're looking around,
Yes.
most of this is going to be on the app too, under resources. I've just been chatting with Andre, and we're gonna put the links to this particular one and also the public image one, and the MOU is already there, and we're going to put some other things up there. We can put these other apps up there for you, the other documents, if you like.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Did I lose my share?
No,
Did I have my document up there?
no.
Okay, then I lost my share. Let me find where I need to be here.
So Brad, you've got about 6 more minutes, unless you want to go over.
Well, you know what? I've got a whole nother hour that I can do on this. Should we set up another? I said this was going to be probable. I think we covered the basics of our grants programs, but we do need to get into the specifics of club qualification and district grants. I'm more than happy to set up another a Zoom meeting like this soon to do that, so that the clubs have the information that they need to
Joe would like to do these like on Monday at 5:15.
Yeah, Brad, it's Joe. I polled the PEs by email, and although not everyone responded, the ones that did respond all indicated that it was a good workable time for them. So Monday at 5:15 p.m. would be a good thing. I don't want to overwhelm people, but there's a lot I know that will be helpful in helping people become more successful as club presidents this year. So if we could do it then, that would be, I think, a really big help.
Like if you want to schedule it for next Monday, are you available?
I am. That'd be the 9th. Yes, I can do it Monday. I'd like to get this piece done quickly so that the clubs have the information they need. So I'm happy to do another one if you'll set it up, Rosie.
I'll set it up for you.
Okay.
Great.
You can't get that one up? I guess people were asking how to fill out the MOU, but that would.
Yeah, and I need to find my.
Yeah, Brad, I emailed to all the PEs a copy of the MOU. I think it was over the weekend or Monday. I forget which day without checking, but I have sent it so that they should have an extra copy just in case. We have about half of them back so far that have been fully executed.
Right. There's really nothing to fill out on the MOU. It's just signing it, but it can be done online too. And part of my, and actually in that instruction manual that I gave, and in those documents, the instructions are there on how to do it in the matchinggrants.org site too. But I was going to go over that, but now I can't find.
Rosie, if you have that email that Brad sent around with the attachments, perhaps you could circulate it to all the PEs again as part of the link for next week.
I'd love to. And
I mean, that way nobody has to go digging for it again.
okay. You know, and the other thing is, people are asking on the MOU, is it this year's president or next year's president in the PE, or does it matter?
For the MOU, it needs to be the president-elect. So you people, you know, attendees now for next year, and your president-elect if you have that person named. If not, you know, another board member or, you know, even your current president can sign it.
Okay.
Most of you probably signed it last year when your club was being qualified for last year's
Mhm.
program. So now you're signing it as the president-elect instead of the president-elect.
One club asked if last year's would just carry over to this year, and I told them no, they needed to re-sign it and get it to us.
It needs to
They
be
also-
redone every year.
Yeah, it has to be redone because they have to watch this.
Well, and new officers too.
Right.
Right. So here's the document that I was looking for. Hopefully you can see that now. And this document gives you instructions. If you go into the District 5010 website under Foundation tab on the upper right-hand corner on the home page, and then go to grant information, over on the left-hand side, there'll be a button for qualify your club. And you go on there and click on the matchinggrants.org website. That'll take you to the qualification page. You'll just switch to the 2021 Rotary year and then click on your club name, and that'll bring up a page that so the Rotary Club of Anchorage, click on Anchorage. Could everybody see my screen? Rosie, can you see my
Yes.
page?
Yes.
Okay.
But,
So
you need to enlarge that a little bit because it's really hard to read.
is it?
Yeah. Can you just,
Yeah, let me see if I can't make
what do you
it.
have, a Mac or?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you click on Anchorage, and then a screen will open up that looks like this, club qualification details. And to do the MOU, just over here where it says start the signature process, type in the president-elect's name, okay, the current president-elect, and then the other person in your club who will sign it, the president-elect if you have one, their name and email, then hit that send signature key. So that'll send via email a signature key to those two people. They just have to follow the instructions from there, and then that will electronically sign that MOU for them and show them as having signed the MOU on this. So look at Anchorage Midtown here, for example. Last year, the little hourglass means that one of the people signed it and the other has not yet. And then we'll give credit for the grants management seminar over here. And
So I have a
both of those
question.
yes.
Question. If people don't finish up their grants, like completely uploading everything with the pictures and the financial papers, etc., if they don't finish that up, they can't get another grant, can they?
By our rules, no. We
Asking.
are fairly flexible. We want our clubs to be able to do the projects. We're still we've got two clubs that have not completed and closed out. Well, whether or not the project itself is completed, I can't say for sure, but two clubs that have not closed out their grants from last year, from the last Rotary year, which they should have done, had done by June of 2019. So their money, one of them did not have a project for this year, so nothing was held up. The other one, their monies were held up. We awarded the money to them just so that they could get going, but we're still chasing them down, trying to get those final reports done. So please, please, please get your final reporting done as soon as you can. And I talked about permitting. The one club who has not completed they got into a project that required some permitting, and permitting, you can always count on snags happening if you're dealing with a municipal government and having to get permits. So it's a little unrealistic to be able to expect all that to happen within a Rotary year and a short construction season on top of that.
Yeah, it's bad.
So keep that in mind. We get lenient, but when it holds us up from having to submit a final report, which we have to submit the final district grant, block grant report to the Rotary Foundation at the end of the Rotary year. And so we need to be able to account for all that money. And we do not like to get money back. If you've, taken money, grant money, and even if your project has gone south, try to find something else to do with that money. We can amend a grant proposal, project proposal. It's much easier to do that than it is to send money back to the foundation.
So we're 5 minutes over.
Yeah. Okay, well, if everybody's amenable and we can do another session next Monday, I'm all for it.
Okay, I'll set it up. There was nothing on there. 5:15 Monday.
5:15 Monday.
Do you want to
Sounds
send
good.
me an agenda or something so I can tell them what you're going to be going over?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody for getting on, and it's been long. It's a lot of information, but it really is going to make your year a lot better. And thank you to Joe, DGE Joe, for getting on, because he might have a global grant that maybe people can jump into.
Well, we always see how it goes. Just as Harry used to say, hate wasting money by having to send it back. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Brad, thank you so much, in particular, Rosie, and everybody who's been in and working with us. I sure appreciate it, and we'll keep moving forward.
All right. So
All right,
I'm
great.
going to shut off everything here. Or
Okay.
maybe-
Okay, buddy.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
yeah, Brad, you may have to stop the
Oh.
recording,
Another guy.
or maybe I can do it. Stop. I'm doing it.
Okay.